That is what we talk about here on Birds 365, the E-A-G-L-E-S Eagles. Here to help us do that is a contemplative Ed Kracz as he scratches his chin here with us on Birds 365. I ask you to contemplate this, Mr. Kracz. Anybody stand out last night as a running back at Eagle practice? The previous Eagle practices last night in front of 50,000 fans adds a little importance to it, but they're going to make their decisions based on the entire preseason. Has the needle moved at all in the running back room for you?
Yeah, I think it has. I tell you though, it's every day. It seems like it's something, somebody different standing out in that backfield. Though I know they love Trey Sermon, but I think DeAndre Swift right now and Kenny Gainwell are the two players that are kind of gaining, I think, a little bit of separation. And maybe you could put Rashad Penny in that second tier right now, but I think DeAndre Swift, with his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, they're going to have to find a way to get him the ball with all these weapons that they have on the offensive side. Obviously, AJ, Devontae, Dallas, they're going to have to find a way, I think, to get DeAndre Swift the ball. And they're working on that. They're giving these running back
the bubble screen, baby.
Yeah. And they've expanded their route tree on routes out of the backfield. I forget who it was. Might've been Trey Sermon was telling us the other day that, Brian Johnson likes his running backs to stand with the wide receivers when Aaron Moorhead is going over the different routes and things like that. So they're going to be involved in the passing game, and it comes down to who can catch the ball best, who has a proven track record, and who's going to see the most time at the running back spot. And right now that's DeAndre Swift and Kenny Gainwell for me. Penny hasn't had a lot of targets in his career. When he has, he's been able to catch the football. Trey Sermon says he can catch the football, but to me, right now it's Swift and Gainwell, in my opinion, who are kind of getting a little bit of separation from the rest of the pack.
Yeah. Did you see the head coach's T-shirt yesterday? Kenny Gainwell football camp. First time.
Yeah.
First time this year he went the player route. Usually he wears the Hurt shirt, the Lane shirt, Brent. I have not seen him wear a player shirt this year until last night. Now, it might have been the first one out of the drawer. It might be nothing, but it was Kenny Gainwell.
John, you don't believe that for a millisecond.
What?
This guy is smart. He does everything for a reason. There's nothing that just happenstance with Sirianni. He everything he says, everything he does, every shirt he wears, there's a method to his madness.
Well, that's stock up for Kenny Gainwell. You heard it from Jody McDonald. I did think it was interesting when he was talking about DeAndre Swift during the week, and he was talking about there's a difference between catching the ball out of the backfield, catching it downfield, and he's a former receiver in college, and he mentioned that DeAndre has that ability to catch the football like a receiver, not like a running back. So I think Ed's got a good beat on it. It's Swift and Gainwell. I think those are the top two guys, and then we'll see what happens from there. But to me, it's Sermon, Rashad Penny, Ed, because Boston's going to be here. So that fourth spot, do they really love Trey Sermon, or do you want Rashad Penny? Where's Ed Kracz on that needle?
Well, I'll tell you, Rashad Penny really, he hit an extra gear in practice the other day when he kind of broke through the line and went down the sideline. I mean, he can run. That guy, I think Penny is going to be the guy over Sermon. I do. And I'm surprised, there are teams that need running backs, and I know they'll probably wait until, cut down day before jumping on them. But everybody's cutting down to the 53 players at once, and that's at the end of camp. So if you want to roll the dice and wait that long to bring in a running back, if you're, say, the Indianapolis Colts, who certainly could use a running back.
Shane's going to get a look at him when he comes back here up close.
I'm surprised they haven't dangled a Sermon or a Scott to the Colts, for whatever, a late round pick, a conditional pick, whatever it is, and then bring that guy in still kind of early here in camp before the preseason games have begun and get him acclimated to your offense. So, when week one comes, he's ready to go, but it doesn't seem like that'll be the case. Who knows? Maybe that will change, but the Eagles aren't going to keep 5 running backs. So,
no.
You say Scott will be here. I guess they do like him a lot. But
am I overvaluing Boston Scott?
I don't know. Maybe. That would be a really hard cut to make given his, loyalty to the team. He's come back on a couple 1-year deals now the past few years. A guy who's been here the bulk of his career after the Saints drafted him. I think it was in the 6th round. But listen, Sermon to me is a young guy who hasn't had the chance. They liked him enough last year to keep him on the 53-man roster all year. Nick talks him up every chance he gets. So, yeah, I'm not so sure that Boston Scott is going to be here if you're going to cut down to 4 running backs and not trade one. So it still has to play itself out. It's going to be interesting. These preseason games, everybody says they don't mean much. But I think for a lot of players this year, they will mean something. And it all starts Saturday when they go to Baltimore to play the Ravens.
Eddie, I'll cover any of the action you want to put up there, that there's not a trade of a running back. Because this isn't just the Eagles. This is the entire National Football League. The position has been so devalued. A conditional 7th, which disappears and goes into the ether, will not even be a deal that will be made for a running back out of the Eagles room this year. There's just no one in the league. They're all going to wait. Oh, do you want to wait? Yes, that's the answer. Everyone will wait till the rosters are cut down, and then they'll pick their best bet out of whoever becomes available and is on waivers. I'll go out on a limb and tell you that's the way the league will handle that. The Eagles will not get lucky enough to get a trade out of one of their running backs. Just speculation on my part. All right, John and I talked about at the top of the show. Need your read on it too. A couple new linebackers showed up yesterday. Nakobe Dean is injured, or they're precautiously holding on to him and not putting him out there. Davion Taylor is no longer a Philadelphia Eagle. So the Eagles added 2 veteran linebackers, just waiting for the right opportunity, a mesh with the Eagles. John likes to use the term ring shopping, or there was nobody in the league who was willing to give him any kind of a contract. Why did the Eagles pick up the 2 guys they signed yesterday?
Well, my concern with Nakobe Dean is just holding up for 17 games. I mean, that's hard to do. I know the Eagles had TJ Edwards and Kaiser White do it all of last season, and TJ has proven to be pretty durable through his career. But, Nakobe's a little, he's on the smaller side, obviously. But that's my concern with him, is holding up for 17 games. And, I know Nick said last night he's been he likes what Nicholas Morrow is doing. I haven't really noticed a whole lot of Nicholas Morrow standing out. So, yeah, I think it's a good move. You bring in a couple veteran players. I know Zach Cunningham has had, he had injuries last year that limited him. But, I think Jack and Cunningham have played a lot of football in this league, and I think they're going to be very helpful for this team. And just like we were talking about the running backs, and I agree with you, Jody, I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to trade one of these guys because of the devaluation of that position. But with the linebacker, and Nick touched on it, is they're kind of the quarterback of the defense. So you want to get guys in here early in camp to get them up and running as quickly as possible. You don't want to bring them in September 1st and have them be ready to play by September 10th. I mean, this makes sense to get these 2 guys in here early, relatively early, get them up and running, up to speed, and they're going to compete. And I think they're going to make the football team. I mean, if they're healthy, and they should still have plenty left. They're still relatively young. But my concern with Dean, and maybe it's the Eagles too, is we're a week and a half, 2 weeks into camp, and already he has an ankle injury. If that were to happen during a game in season, what do you have behind him? I mean, it's very thin. It gets very thin very quickly. So I think it's a great move to bring these 2 veteran linebackers in, and to do it now here on August 6th or August 7th to get them up to speed.
By the way, as Ed was talking there to talk about the running backs, to sort of close that up, Kareem Hunt visiting with the Saints today. Kareem Hunt's out there. Dalvin Cook's still out there. Ezekiel Elliott's still out there. Yeah, I think even with Shane Steichen, Eagles will have a tough time getting anything for a running back. There's just so much. The supply outpaces the demand. That's the issue. But
yeah, but listen, those guys you mentioned, John, they're going to command probably some pretty big number, right? Well, as big as
Dalvin and
more than
Dalvin
like
will.
Austin Scott's going to make this year, or a Trey Sermon.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to have to pay a little bit more to get guys like Elliott and Hunt and Cook.
With the linebackers, though, how much are you buying, Ed? Nick sort of straddling the fence. Oh, I love the linebacker room with bringing in two guys who have been successful linebackers in this league. I mean, actions speak louder than words. They're not happy with this linebacker room, nor should they be. Let's be honest.
I don't know how you could be. And I've been saying this all summer is they need to make a move at linebacker. Everybody thought safety. I think the safeties are, I'm not as concerned about the safety room. I think they have some good talent there. But, when Christian Ellis, and no knock on Christian Ellis, I think he's having a really good camp. But, he's a special teams guy. And if you're going to put your eggs in the Christian Ellis basket, that to me is a concern. Now you have two veterans, guys have gone out there, posted 100 tackles per season many times in their careers, guys who have done it. I don't see how you could have been happy with that room. I mean, Ben Van Sumeren, okay, maybe he'll develop
first team reps, Ed. Ben Van Sumeren, not only did he take first team reps last night, he was calling the defense out of the huddle. I did not think I would see that this summer.
I'm sorry I brought up his name, frankly, because I don't think he'll amount to anything this season, maybe in future years. But listen, you couldn't be
great
happy
athlete
with him and
Martin was
Bradley, good, decent Michigan special teams player. I mean, that room was so thin and so inexperienced that this is a move they had to make, and they're fortunate that two guys out there were. Like this were out there. I mean, otherwise you're probably talking about a trade. I know I had heard Isaiah Simmons' name was mentioned to me at camp last week as a potential someone to keep an eye on. I reached out to one of our SI colleagues that covers the Cardinals in Arizona, and he said they seem to be pretty happy with him. They're playing him exclusively at safety. So I don't think, to try to land him would probably cost more than you want to give. And probably the same with Patrick Queen. So this is kind of the more inexpensive route to go in terms of collateral with draft picks in future years. And they had to do it, really. They did. I mean, this linebacker room just was not deep enough or, in my opinion, good enough.
Ben Van Sumeren, great athlete, as John calls him. You know who else was a great athlete? Davion Taylor.
Taylor.
Yeah.
No longer a Philadelphia Eagle.
I asked the coach.
Great athleticism can only take you so far. You actually have to be able to play the position. I
got that Davion quote for you. I asked the head coach.
Yep. That's a big swing and a miss from Howie. We give him a lot of credit, and recently he's done better drafting. But that 2020 class, now you have two of your first three picks that are no longer here. But of course, the one that
quarterback erases it.
Yeah, the quarterback makes that class
that's exactly but he got Jalen. So you can forget every other pick in 2020 because he got Jalen as a second rounder, which was questioned by a lot of folks. Right. And speaking of which, we've gone an hour and 38 minutes into the show, or we started about 3 minutes after, so an hour and 35 minutes after. Sorry, I was running late today, guys. Jalen Hurts. Nice that we mentioned a quarterback at some time during
25.
The only mention was John said, I asked him, what was the play that brought the crowd to life last night? And he said, it wasn't even a play. It's when Jalen Hurts walked onto the field, the place went bonkers. He is as popular as he is. And John has given me his evaluations day in, day out in camp. They've been pretty damn good on Jalen Hurts. Pick up right where he left off. Second best player in the league behind only Patrick Mahomes. Is there a reason to think that Jalen Hurts can actually be better this year? He took such a leap up from where he was to what he ended the year as last year. And he outplayed Mahomes on the field in the Super Bowl, but the Eagles didn't win. What do you see out of Hurts so far in their preseason, Eddie Kracz?
Well, first, I'm hoping to see you guys later at Jalen Hurts' birthday party. I have to get ready right after the show. I don't know if
I got the invite.
My invitation must have gotten lost in the mail. I can't believe that.
I got the invites. Now the most mature 25-year-old Jeffrey Lurie has ever known.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing when you think about him just being 25 years old. But to answer your question, Jody, about I think he's looked great in camp. I really do. I think he's more confident. Players like Dallas Goedert told us that he'll talk to him off to the side about stuff that hasn't even been installed yet when the play is run. Like, okay, this is what we need to do, and the play hasn't even been installed, but it's something from last year that they used to do. So, I mean, this guy is so far advanced in the playbook now. He knows where he's going with the ball. You can see that confidence. To me, I think he's only thrown the one camp interception, and that was kind of, as John wrote about,
situation.
Yeah. John does a great job with the observations. You should be reading those over on our site. But he mentioned the context of that play. It was, I think, 15 seconds left. He had to make a play, so he's trying to force the ball downfield, and Slay picked him off. But to me, Hurts is having a fantastic camp, as you would expect for someone who has been, a MVP runner-up. I mean, I don't know what his ceiling is. He set a pretty high bar. I'd like to see him throw a little bit more touchdown passes. I think he had 22 of those last year, but he ran for 13. I don't see that changing. I think he's still going to get his share of rushing touchdowns, but I'd like to see the number of touchdowns increase through the air. Completion percentage is about where you want it, 66, 67% last year. Maybe that can go a little bit higher. But right now, Jody, he to me looks just very comfortable and in command of the offense. Remember last summer, we were concerned that the defense was winning a lot over the offense in the summer. And I guess that proved correct. The defense was very good, finished second overall, first against the pass. This year, the offense to me has just dominated the defense most days.
Yeah. And the quarterback running game is just killing the Eagles defense. I mean, I don't know how many times they've run that quarterback draw inside the red zone, but he waltzes in every time. It's like they've seen it 10 times and they can't even get a hand on him. So I got to start looking at Sean Desai a little bit there. Something tweak, maybe Zach Cunningham, maybe Miles Jack helps that at the linebacker position. But I want to talk about backup quarterback because we know Jalen, 2-year starter, you've needed the backup for a short span both seasons. Marcus Mariota has not looked great to me throwing the football at Kracz. Now, the context of that is the second team offensive line has not been good. He's often getting bad snaps that could, blow up a whole play. The second team offensive line, a lot of jumbling around. Jeff Stoutland trying to figure it out. Where are you on the concern meter for the backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota?
Well, you made a good point there with the backup O lineman, and I think that's why we're seeing the Eagles, they're bringing Josh Sills back after he was acquitted of his rape and kidnapping charges over the weekend. That's why they signed Josh Andrews. That's why Jeff Stoutland's juggling Dennis Kelly from guard to tackle. They're trying to find combinations. They're trying to find players that can step in as reserves, because you're right, that I don't think that second team O-line has been good enough. And that's why I think the Eagles have brought some guys in here along the O-line. So, but as far as my concern level with Mariota, I mean, I thought it was interesting when he talked to us last week about this is his 8th new system that he's learning in his 9
years
in the league. So that's a lot. I mean, you would think he would have it down by now. He'd be in that learning mode. But to me, that's the issue, is I don't think he really is comfortable right now with the scheme and where he needs to go with the ball. And then you pile on the fact that the offensive line just hasn't given him enough time. You mentioned the bad snaps. He's bending over to have to pick those up and then look around and see what's out there. But he needs to do better. I mean, to me, it's a concern. And I haven't really seen Ian Book or Tanner McKee light anything up either. So, you're going to have 3 quarterbacks active on game day now. One of them will be Mariota. He'll get the next reps. One thing he has done that I like is that quarterback draw. I mean, that guy can still giddy up after 9 years in the league, 29, 30 years old, however old he is. He can still run and be effective that way. So his skill set kind of marries with Hurts's, and that's one reason I think they liked him more so than Gardner Minshew's. But throwing the ball is a chore right now for him.
All right, Ed Kracz, so we're going to have to wait till September 10th, which is opening day in New England against the Patriots, for Nick Sirianni to name Cam Jurgens as the starting left back. Is he going to wait till September 10th because he refuses to do so?
Probably. Yeah, I would say so.
He did a non-confirmation confirmation when I asked him yesterday, Ed. He was smiling like a Cheshire cat.
Yeah,
I mean, he's the starting right guy.
And then Jeff
Stoutland, not going to say it. Yeah,
I mean, Jeff Stoutland just praised him up and down when we talked to him on Friday, just about how strong he is. Yeah. Mentioned Barrett Brooks. He's as athletic with his feet as Brandon Brooks was. He's the starter. Come on, let's
Big Barrett's strong, but he was talking about Brandon, our buddy Barrett Brooks. But
wait, which of those two Brooks is coming back? Since we got Dennis Kelly back and we got Josh Andrews back, which of the Brooks is coming back, Brandon or Barrett? One of the two has to be signed here.
By the way,
next week.
I saw Barrett last night. Barrett's lost like 60 pounds.
Is it 60? I've been meaning to say that here on Birds 365. You see him on TV.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that many. He's definitely slimmed down.
And,
but you think
Brandon's down to like 240 because Brandon, if you've ever seen Brandon, when he tore his Achilles, he would lose a bunch of weight and he looked like, a WWE wrestler. He was so cut. Yeah. And then he gains it back to get his strength back. But they both lost too much weight. They can't come back. They can't come back.
They're out of
back. And Dennis Kelly even looks thin. I mean, you look at Dennis Kelly, I'm not sure he's going to make this team. I mean, even Stoutland mentioned it, that nutritionally he lost weight. And, we'll see where he stands on this team. But, I don't know who you can bring back. I don't know. Todd Herman's maybe Todd Herman's.
Too much weed for Todd. He sells it, so I can say that. But one player, back to the defensive side, a lot of angst with the commenters, a lot of angst on social media. When I tell them, hey, guess who's relevant? Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace got all the first team reps at safety last night, Ed. Is it real or is it a mirage?
Well, he certainly had a very good camp. And, again, you have to see if that translates once the season starts, if he can play within himself and not try to, go off the rails a little bit and try to freelance and make plays that aren't his to make. I mean, he needs to stay and play within himself. I mean, we've seen Davion Taylor have a good camp a couple years ago. Davion Taylor started 6 games a couple years ago.
That Denver game, he was phenomenal.
Terrific.
Remember that Denver game? The 2 forced fumbles out there.
Yeah, one that Slay picked up for a touchdown.
Yeah, the country fumble versus city fumble, Slay explanation, which was phenomenal. Davion created a fumble.
So we've seen Davion do this too. And Davion did have some good games when he got his opportunity. So Kayvon's going to get his opportunity. He's going to play. And I like that big nickel package that they're running out there with Terrell Edmonds as kind of the linebacker, the hybrid linebacker. And that allows Blankenship and Wallace to play back, on the back end at safety. So that gets, some good players on the field. I think Wallace is a good player. I'm not sure he's really had the opportunity to kind of have this sort of a camp in the past, but now he's been given it. He has a new defensive coordinator in Sean Desai, who's giving him this opportunity, and he has to make the most of it. I mean, it's one thing to do it in August. Let's see how he does with these reps in September and beyond. I suspect we're going to see quite a bit of him against the Ravens on Saturday night, and we'll see if he's able to take that next step from practice field to game day field.
All right, guys, we're definitely going to play against the Ravens are the cornerbacks not named Bradbury and or Slay. Bradbury, there's no chance he's going to play, and I don't think Slay's going to play either. So every other cornerback's going to have a chance to shine and become the first cornerback wide off the bench. For you, Ed, has Josh Jobe distanced himself, or is it in the lead right now? How would you rank the other cornerbacks on this roster and their chance to be backups on the 53 and or then who do you think is practice squad bound?
Yeah, Josh Jobe's been getting the first team reps with Bradbury out with the ankle injury the last couple of practices. So, yeah, I think Josh Jobe will be the guy that is probably going to see plenty of reps. And, listen, he's going against two of the best receivers in the NFL in this camp with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So, he gets beaten sometimes and he doesn't look as good, but you wonder like how he'll do against some other receivers that aren't A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So, we'll see that as the summer goes on here with the Ravens and the Browns and the Colts in the preseason. But I think it's Josh Jobe, and now you're looking at, you're going to keep him. You're going to keep Zach McPherson, Avonte Maddox, Slay, Bradbury. What's that? 5 guys, 6 guys.
Yeah.
How many DBs are you going to keep? Maybe 7, maybe 8. That's kind of a stretch. So who's going to be the next guy? And what does he bring? What value does he bring? Can he play the slot? Do you need another slot guy, or do you want another outside guy? You still have Greedy Williams in this mix.
Yeah,
Keely Ringo in this mix, a rookie. Yeah. And then a guy that's really flashed for both John and I is Mekhi Garner, who's very physical, very good in press coverage. He always gets his hand on you before you release from the line of scrimmage to get into your route. I like that. He's not scared to let a guy get by him. He'll get right up and give him a shove off the line. So that's a position that I'm not really that concerned about is cornerback. And, I know last year kind of felt the same way, but it's been a long time since we've had this kind of depth, I think, in the cornerback room. I mean, Mario Goodrich, a second-year undrafted free agent, has even flashed from time to time. So, listen, some of these guys are going to get released, and I wouldn't be surprised if other teams pick them up. I mean, it's that kind of a room. It's deep and it's talented.
At Kracz E, follow Ed on X or Twitter if you refuse to give up Twitter. SI.com/NFL/Eagles does a tremendous job covering this team. All right, we talked about corners. Let's talk about receivers. I don't think Olamide Zaccheaus is pushing Quez Watkins. I think Quez has sort of held down that role. I'm not going to call him elite, but he's clearly the third receiver on this team. So I've kind of looked at it like this, and I want to see if you agree. Joseph Nada is closer to Olamide Zaccheaus than Olamide is to Quez Watkins. And we know Britton Covey's making the team. So is there a chance Olamide falls off this roster as the fourth receiver?
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. The concern with Olamide to me is, and I call him Oz, the great and powerful Oz, OZ, but to me is the drops. I mean, he just has too many drops. He had 3, I think, at practice Friday.
Dropped a punt last night, by the way.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a situation where you could put some receivers on the practice squad, and what if you were only to go with 4 because you want to keep 5 running backs or 4 running backs even, or 4 tight ends? I mean, what if you just want to go with Covey, Watkins, Brown, and Smith, and then you put the 3 guys on the practice
squad?
Do it. Yeah, you can do that, and then you kind of tinker with your game day roster each week. I mean, Greg Ward, to me, has had his usual pretty solid training camp.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid receiver, but he's not going to make this roster. So, if you cut him, is somebody going to grab him? I mean, Nada could be a practice squad guy. Zaccheaus, I don't think they'll cut him. But again, we're talking about a 4th receiver. Zach Pascal last year had, I think, 21 targets. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of targets, but if you're Zaccheaus and you're getting 21 targets, you better darn well catch 18 of those. And right now, I don't see the hands being what they should be at this point in camp with him.
Has anyone in that wide receiver room, and then we'll let you run, Ed, promise, has anyone grab Zach Pascal's role, if Zach Pascal's role is still going to be part of what the Eagles are, because the coach seems to like a wide receiver who will do all the dirty work, get the blocking done on specific plays, where wide receivers getting out there and getting involved in blocking could be a key to a play. Has anyone attempted to do that? Do you think that role is just going to be eliminated because they don't have a player like him on the squad this year? How does that shake out with him being gone?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't think Zaccheaus is as much of a blocker. You know what I would probably do? And I just thought of this while you're asking the question, is what about like a Grant Calcaterra, moving him to wide receiver?
Yeah, I think that's the way they've done it. Yeah. It's sort of like the tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him make some plays in the blocking game. I saw him make a really nice kick out block on one running play down near the goal line. Really stuck his nose in there. So I think his blocking might be improving. I'd have to pay more attention to that. But why not move him to receiver and have him fill that role as a blocking receiver, so to speak? It gets him on the team at a crowded position, tight end, because I'm not sure Nada can block. Deion Kane, I think, has shown some good stuff. Now, he's missed some practices with an ankle. It's been a long year for him. He was the USFL MVP of the championship game, so he's been playing a lot of football. But, maybe Calcaterra, maybe that's something they can take a look at.
It's a labeling thing. They're not going to move him to receiver, but he's going to be doing the same role. So, flex tight end, flex receiver, blocker. Because to Jody's point, nobody can do what Zach Pascal did. So they're trying to get that out of Calcaterra or Dan Arnold. That's sort of, I think, going to be their role to take over for what Zach did, so to speak.
Eddie K, we kept you long. Thank you very much for jumping in. We're going to get you up next week as well. Is McMullen been on his best behavior down there at practice? I need somebody to rat him out. Has he done anything embarrassing? Give me something. Give me something I can use here on the show, Ed.
Well, they don't serve coffee at training camp, so
there we go. There it is.
Any coffee.
There it is.
So from what I've observed, he's been pretty good.
All right. He's getting annoyed with us continually bringing up the coffee thing. I brought it up this weekend too.
Got to be.
I only spilled it on myself.
That's true.
How dare anybody say anything?
I might have got Ed's hand, but I didn't spill it on any clothing other than myself. So.
It's dangerously close to my laptop, John. It's close to
the incident.
My laptop.
The incident. I like. By the way, they have new windows at the Lincoln Finance. Awful, Ed. Awful.
It's like FedEx. It's going to be a security issue if they leave those things open. I mean, you see the fans that sit in that section.
Don't even get me started.
They're pretty rowdy. All the fans are rowdy, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a little concerned.
Like big bars like FedEx Field. When did Daniel Snyder come to Philadelphia? I don't.
A lot of obstructed views.
Yeah.
There you go. Knew we could get McMullen stoked. Just give him something to talk about. Wind him up and let him go. Eddie K, thank you very much. We will talk to you again soon enough. Thanks, bud.
My pleasure, guys.
Ed Kracz here with us on Birds 365 from Sports Illustrated.
Speaking of, our buddy Bo Wolf's going to be on later in the week, right?
Yes, Friday.
I got to talk. So Zach Berman, his colleague at The Athletic, for those who don't know, Zach is the most positive, optimistic person on the planet. I mean, he's Brandon Graham, like never had a bad day in his life. Everything's peaches and cream in Zach Berman's world. Zach was trying to say, they're not that bad, the windows. And Bo just shut him down. Just shut them. They're awful. They're awful. It was great because Bo said, not everything has to be perfect. They're terrible. They are terrible. Bo was correct. Bo wins that battle.
We're almost out of time here. So on a later date, when we've got time to kill, we'll analyze, probably overanalyze the windows at Lincoln Financial Field. Save that for a later date. All right, McMullen and McDonald coming back to put a ball on the show.